You know, Bob and Brooke, earlier we were at the Apple store. We were at the Adidas store. Both of them looted, the glass shattered, a lot of things stolen. And they're big companies. They'll take a hit. But it is the small, the mom and pop businesses that have also been looted that are heartbreaking. Joining me now live, Nimat, his daughter Sheila. They've been in the jewelry business, Nathan's Jewelers, since 1987 here on South Hill. And we're going to show you the shattered glass in just a moment. Nimat, I mean, you have tears in your eyes.
Yeah.
Of what they've done to your business.
I'm so sick of reporting these stories. Each and every time, it's always the same. The left is mad about something. Usually, that is regular, ordinary enforcement of law by law enforcement. They decide that they can't handle it, so they go out and protest, which is perfectly fine. But of course, those protests end up escalating into riots, end up escalating into looting. And who are the victims of this rioting? Who are the victims of this looting? Regular, ordinary people that actually have jobs, that actually have places to be. They're the ones who end up losing everything. Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Sean, and in our previous video, we talked about certain aspects of the Los Angeles rioting. We talked about the fact that there's a game being played by the left-wing media, by online and mainstream media, where they say, oh, well, the riots, they're not really a thing. And in fact, the only reason people are rioting when they're not really a thing is because the Trump administration deployed the National Guard to quench the riots that don't exist, but if they do exist, they're in response to the Trump administration. But the thing is, that denial has consequences. The thing is, those lies are paid for by the regular ordinary citizens, by the business owners who are just law-abiding, trying to go about their day, you know, people who actually have jobs, and that's what we're going to talk about today. All these different various businesses that, of course, have lost everything, while all these social media users who are encouraging it, who are denying it while at the same time praising it, cheer it on. Because guess what? The insurance excuse is not good enough. That is not a solve for these people's livelihoods, for their lives' work, and I'm sick of it. But before we get into that, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
What they done to my business, I don't know. I have to go inside see what's going on. I don't know what they done to business.
Right, but you were telling me that why take out whatever issues people have on you, a small business owner?
Not only me. There's a lot of people. There is so many people.
How does this affect you?
Very bad. There is 1 week is a riot and people of the transgender or other things, and they close the business and nobody can come inside. Another day something else, another day something else. Why they bring them to downtown? Why these people come to downtown? They go to somewhere out of the city limits and they scream at what they want to do. Why they come here?
So look, obviously this guy right here is struggling to speak English, but as you can see, based on the B-roll, his windows were smashed in, all the different various pieces of jewelry were taken from him, all in the name of fighting against unjust deportations of criminals, by the way, and this is just something that he's gonna have to eat, something that he's gonna have to deal with. And for those of you who are gonna say, oh, well, he has insurance, don't worry about it. Insurance is just a magic word. When you say the word insurance, money comes out of nowhere and it makes you whole for all of your losses. There's never a such thing as a denied claim or anything of the sort because he has insurance. But guess what? He probably doesn't have insurance.
And why do they affect a small business owner? Sheila, your dad works so hard, and he was telling me, and he had tears in his eyes earlier, that, you know, the store now, you still have to see the damage done inside. This is a jewelry mart. And we also have video of other stores that were looted overnight. There were reports, Sheila, of up to 100 looters at a time at a jewelry business.
Crazy. Very crazy, very sad, very terrible.
And your dad works really hard. I'm sure you work really hard too. This is a small family-owned business and there's no insurance.
No.
How is this going to affect your family?
Really bad. Really bad. People are stupid. What can you do?
And why target you? You have nothing to do with any of this.
I know. I don't know why.
In fact, a bunch of different small businesses across California, because of the higher rates of crime, because of the higher rates of natural disasters, don't have insurance at all. And one of the things that we discovered with the Minneapolis Black Lives Matter riots is even those insured companies, even those insured businesses, oftentimes only got enough money to pay out in order to demolish their property after it was burned out by these criminal rioters. And of course, it's not limited to just him. It's a bunch of different stores on this block that are completely and utterly obliterated. Again, all in the name of allegedly fighting against unjust deportations. All in the name of fighting against the evil orange man's policies on deporting people who are here illegally. All because the evil orange man allegedly, theoretically, because he deployed the National Guard, these people decided the only way to fight back against the National Guard, the only way to fight back against the Trump administration was to destroy this man's livelihood, was to obliterate his store, was to take his cash box. And again, we saw this with the other store where the Asian business owners were actually running it. Same exact story, except even more damage there.
Yeah, that's fucked up. Cameras and neighbors. It's called the great. Has it ever happened before? No. How do you feel that it happens? It's horrible. Years of work.
So as you can see right here, this Asian woman, possibly an immigrant herself, just like the previous guy, easily could have been an immigrant, is looking over what remains of her store. And honestly, genuinely, I can't even tell what this business once was after these people stole so much from it. And of course, that she ends up getting asked the question, like, what goes into this? How do you feel about this? And she says years of her work. Again, this is these people's lives' work being completely obliterated. And for what? For what purpose? For the illegal immigrants, for the immigration raids, which, by the way, are 100% undeniably the fault of the state of California. The Trump administration asks very straightforwardly for California and all these other sanctuary cities to actually turn over the most violent criminals in the state once they finish their sentences. These people do exist, but guess what? The state of California ends up shielding them from deportation because we have to protect the innocent, and prepare your ears for this, Baba Angel Aladdin criminals that are not from this country, because God forbid we be so cruel to them to send them back to their home nation. So in response, with a bunch of warning, the Trump administration said, we're going to do raids on these locations. We are going to arrest people. And guess what? As a consequence of us finding other illegal immigrants near the criminals that you refuse to turn over, we're also going to deport those other people. That's exactly what happened. And yet we see all this rioting pretending like, oh no, it's the National Guard that came after they started rioting that's actually the real culprit behind this. And again, it's just sickening. You see posts all over social media talking about how sad it is that they're deporting these illegal immigrants. One of my favorite ones is this one right here, which shows two individuals who are fighting fires that were arrested by the evil bad Trump administration. And guess what? They were fighting fires, as prisoners, but it's not like they committed a very serious crime. I mean, again, they've been out in the community and whatnot, and it was just horrible for the Trump administration to deport them. And here's the caption: ICE's public safety narrative often collapses under scrutiny. The guy on the left was a prison firefighter, not a job available to safety threats. He was granted bond from ICE detention in 2022. Similarly, the man on the right was paroled in California in 2022 for good behavior. And you can see at the bottom of his photo, that is Leonel Sanchez Lagunas, and it says he was a firefighter at the conservatum camp before he was detained by ICE in December of 2019. The other person on the right, the one who is paroled from the state of California for good behavior, has been identified as a Vietnamese illegal immigrant. Well, guess what? That Vietnamese illegal immigrant was paroled on second-degree murder. This guy is telling us we should be praising this innocent Beba Angel Aladdin firefighter because he's not really a threat to the state of California when he's quite literally a murderer. And the This other guy, let me give you his rap sheet, what he was convicted of, and you tell me if him in a little fireman costume makes you want to keep him in the country. Lionel Sanchez Laguna of Mexico was convicted of discharging a firearm at an inhabited dwelling and vehicle, battery on a spouse or cohabitant, willful cruelty to a child, DUI, and assault with a semi-automatic firearm. So both of these individuals are extremely dangerous individuals. One of them is quite literally a murderer who, of course, California, despite knowing he was here illegally, paroled onto the streets of their state. And the other one is a guy with multiple different arrests, including firearm arrests, including discharging a weapon at somebody in an inhabited dwelling, also known as attempted murder in my book, assault with a firearm, domestic abuse, DUI, but all of that we're supposed to let go because guess what? They're in firemen's costumes. Now again, you just look at all these different videos of the looting. You have the Apple Store, which of course people are posting in celebration of, saying that they have insurance. You have the Adidas store. You also have the Zara. As well as many other small businesses that are being looted and destroyed. And this should beg the question, what the hell does looting Zara, looting the Apple Store, looting these small businesses, destroying them while having fun have to do with saving people who are just innocent Beba Angel second-degree murderers from unjust deportation, just because we might not want to have a murderer in our country because, you know, he murders people? I mean, what is this connection that I'm missing? Is it because some of these phones were assembled in Vietnam, so on behalf of the Vietnamese murderer, you want to take them back, you want to fight against the capitalist system? It's ridiculous, it's absurd. And again, I will point out, one of the most absurd talking points related to this whole issue is the idea that the riots are not happening across the city of Los Angeles, everywhere in Los Angeles, therefore they're no big deal. And I played Philip DeFranco, Philip the dumbass, talking like this in my previous video. Let me run that clip for you once again.
Then also with all this, I do want to say, especially regarding the way that Trump is talking about the pictures and the videos, and this is important for every situation, when you see something, do not just assume, okay, well, that is definitely what's going on, and it's what's going on everywhere. Right, I get it, when it comes to news and attention, if it bleeds, it leads. Right, it's easy to see some videos or some pictures and go, okay, so it was just widespread lawlessness and chaos, that's all it was. But it is also very important to remember that as far as we can tell, most of the people that were showing up and protesting were doing so peacefully. And away from these few areas of clashes, life was going on as normal for most people in LA.
But make no mistake, that is a widespread talking point that is being utilized over and over and over again by multiple different people. Brian Stelter is tweeting about this on twitter.com as well. Offline, in real-world Los Angeles, most Angelinos are having a perfectly normal day, but online, the fires and riots are still raging. Seeking clicks, clout, and chaos, unvetted social media accounts are preying on the fears about where last weekend's clashes will lead. Then, of course, he blames the algorithms in his next follow-up tweet. I guess we gotta go out and arrest the algorithms. With the people looting Zara are actually algorithms doing so. And the crazy thing about this is that Stelter put this out 2 hours before Los Angeles declared a state of emergency that very same day and a curfew. And he's saying, no big deal. In the real world, most Angelinos are having a normal day, nothing to worry about. Another post I saw that's trying to say, oh, guess what? The riots are only isolated to this small area, which only represents a small portion of the city. Some perspective for the people that don't live here, the protests in LA are happening downtown, within the red area. The red area area is 0.2% of the city and 0.02% of the country. The majority of the protests are peaceful, a small fraction is violent. Now, of course, I responded to this specific post by posting a map of the United States of America, pointing to New Orleans on the map and saying, you know guys, a lot of people talk about the devastation of Hurricane Katrina, but in most of the country, like I said in my previous video, it didn't even rain. So how come we don't spend our time talking about what happened in most of the other parts of the country rather than focusing on the negative? Like Brian Stelter said, those algorithms are really getting us. Again, what about Pearl Harbor? For some reason, we focus on what happened to a couple of ships in one port in Hawaii, but most of the people in the United States of America never even saw the smoke. And yet all your TVs and radios on Pearl Harbor Day, for whatever reason, kept talking about the Japanese threat when most Americans didn't even live near a Japanese person, let alone, again, were victimized by Pearl Harbor. I mean, this is how we cover disasters in the mind of the left-wing person. We talk about all the buildings that didn't fall in New York City on September 11th because that's really the mainline issue. And one of the saddest things for me to report to you guys on this channel is that even though Anna Kasparian is a great friend of the channel, even though she did a wonderful job, and unlike a bunch of these other people, she actually took time out of her segment to condemn the looting, to identify the looting, for whatever reason, she decided to also point out that this is only a certain section of the city, as if that matters.
But the real question is, does what we've seen on the ground in Los Angeles justify the deployment of now 4,000 National Guard troops in addition to 700 active Marines? I'm going to go ahead and say no, even while fully acknowledging the loathsome individuals, the wreckers who have decided to destroy parts of this city, engage in rioting, engage in looting. Those people are scum, and I have no interest in providing any cover for them whatsoever. But let's not pretend as though the Trump administration isn't intentionally escalating this situation with a ridiculous, disproportionate response, given how limited and contained the rioting has been in very specific parts of the city. Now, some argue, who cares if it's limited to specific parts of the city? The riots are happening.
Again, I want to say my literal bestie, Big Bad Anna.
Oh, big, strong, big bad Anna
did a significantly better job in covering the riots than the overwhelming majority of the left-wing media, so she deserves credit for that. I don't want to condemn her or shame her or anything of the sort, but the thing is, this specific idea that for some reason we need to know, or it needs to be pointed out to everybody out there in the world, that there's a bunch of parts of Los Angeles that are not currently under riot, is stupid. It's just ridiculous. There's no point in having this discussion because nobody with an IQ above room temperature legitimately believes that the riots are happening everywhere in Los Angeles, every square inch of the city, at all times simultaneously. We all understand that when we're watching a store being broken into, that there is another store on the other part of town that is definitely not being broken into. But the thing is, that other store where there's no protest devolving into a riot, where there's no societal breakdown, that's not the story. The story is the looting. The story is the crime. The story is the area where the riots are going down, not the areas where people aren't seeing the riots. The whole reason you report the important things in the news is so that people who aren't literally there, who can't witness it firsthand, can actually see what's going on, and you're informing them about the key information. I mean, you could have talked about how there was no riot in Los Angeles 2 Wednesdays ago and compare that to today, or compare that to any time during this period and say, wow, you know, the rioting wasn't happening in all the days of all the months of the years. But if you talk like that, people would call you dumb because what you're doing makes no sense.
Then also with all this, I do want to say, especially regarding the way that Trump is talking about the pictures and the videos, and this is important for every situation, when you see something, do not just assume, okay, well, that is definitely what's going on, and it's what's going on everywhere.
There is no argument for this coverage, and I just want to point out that none of these people, zero of these people, including Anna, on January 6th, when the Trump supporters were rioting at the Capitol, which, by the way, was wrong, was uncalled for, was ridiculous, reported about the other goings on in the District of Columbia. None of these people reported that in a different area of DC, there were people just eating at a restaurant and they didn't even have the TV on, so they didn't understand what's going on there. That is not a thing in how we cover stories, unless, of course, we're trying to deflect from the story. And in this particular case, when you're talking about how, oh, the rioting isn't all of LA, there's plenty of peaceful parts of LA, you are deflecting from the story. Again, the story is the people throwing stuff over the freeway. The story is the stores being obliterated. The story is the rioting. That is the thing that we're focusing on. I mean, what if the Trump administration, in response to criticisms of their immigration raids, said, hey, you know, you never talked about the other Home Depots that we didn't raid. How come you're not talking about what's going on there? People are buying power drills right over there and you're not even discussing it. You're not even protesting it. People would obviously look at whoever said that like they're crazy, and that's the position that I'm in right now. I'm looking at all these different people in the mainstream media like they're insane because they're bringing up irrelevant information and saying it so confidently and so firmly like it matters, when that's just not the case. Again, the story is the riots. The people who are doing not rioting, who are just going to work, they are not the story. We understand that they exist. We get that. We totally comprehend that information. It does not need to be explained, and it seems like the only reason you are trying to explain that and spending so much time on it is because you don't want us to talk about the riots. You don't want us to talk about the problem. You want us to talk about the non-problem. I told you that somebody in your family is an alcoholic, and you were saying, oh wait, but you know, my neighbor is not an alcoholic, so I don't think I have to deal with the alcoholic and all the problems that they actually bring to the table. This is what's going on right now, and it's insane, and that's why I'm getting so angry, because it's deserved. It doesn't make any sense, except for the fact that a bunch of these people are doing it to deliberately mislead you. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think about all this down in the comments below, and if you guys truly believe that the real story of the riots is the fact that in some places there aren't riots, then let me know that in the comments as well. But as per usual, if you like this video, show me by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the insanity surrounding the riots. Till next time.